No. List some of the things that you believe that single person will have in ministry than persons who are unmarried. List some of the things that singles can do. They can do what do they have on their hand at their disposal that married people don't have. Time, very important. They can spend more time on the mission field. Is that true? Yes. Married people, they as Paul tell you, the first responsibility of a married man is his family. Serious business. That's the first responsibility of a married man, is to ensure, is to provide for his family. Because this family, by the grace of God, they must try to rise up most best that they will enter into the kingdom of God. No. The Sister Jackie, you raise your hand, she mentioned time. What else? To focus on the Lord. Yes. Okay, very good. So focus. You can be more focused. So here's we have time, we have also focus. What else? What else is at the disposal at the fingertips of persons who are single? Yes. We are coming to that, Sister David. We are coming to that. We are coming to that. Because talk is cheap and action is very, very expensive. So we are coming to that. Yes, Sister Jackie. Yes, that's an advantage. Yes. What else with single do single persons have at their disposal? What else? So we have time, focus, and you mentioned, Sister Jackie mentioned the third one. Yeah. Contentment. Yes. What else? How about, yes, my sister, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Yes, let me hear you.
So love God more.
Love God more. Okay. So yes. So we can see that singles. How about let us look at time. Let us look at time. As a single person, you have more time because you don't, let's say, and singleness now, I have to look at it in a different level, because there are people who have children, but they are single. They do not have the time on their hand like those who don't have children. So we have to look at those who have children and those who don't. Those who don't have children, they have more time for the mission field. Even though, after look at the practical aspect, when you look at the world today, it's like single ministry is just instead of getting into ministry, we find that most single people, they are trying to get their masters and their PhDs and the things of life, which is important. But at the same time, I want to say that I have friends, while they are pursuing their course of study, wherever they are witnessing for Jesus. So it doesn't mean that because somebody is at the university studying, doing their masters or their doctorate, sometimes within that same classroom, that same space, they are witnessing for Christ. And so your ministry is not something that you do when you have some spare time. You are the ministry. Wherever you are in ministry. Get it? Wherever you are. So if you're at work, you're in ministry. If you're at school, you're in ministry. And it doesn't mean that you should keep silent. You should be always, whatever conversation you're holding with somebody, leave a spiritual impact on the individual. As I said, when it comes to time, you can spend more time on the mission field, even though we are not seeing it happen in the way that it should be, Sister Debbie. People are not on the mission field as they should. But single persons, it is expected, and don't use your time to idle. Don't use your time to spend hours on the phone. And if you're really deeply in ministry, then you can find tasks to do. Look at Paul. Look at the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians 11, and Paul was talking, admonishing other people that have been what? He's always on the move. He was what? Shipwrecked. What again? Beaten. Stoned. What else? He was imprisoned. Naked. A day and a night we are out in the deep. In other words, he was on a ship. Don't know if he was bitten by a venomous snake. He was hungry. He was naked. Yes, Paul went through a lot as a single man. But Paul said he glory in his infirmities. No, here is a man who is a member of the Sanhedrin Council. Anyway, they kicked him out of the bar, in Jamaica, when a lawyer is not following the course. So Paul was kicked off the bar, but at the same time, he's still a lawyer and a tent maker by trade. So here you have a single man, a brilliant man, and Paul was on the move at all times for Christ. He spent a lot of time on the mission field. To be exact, I believe I would say he died on the mission field, because the last time he was arrested, then they took him and they executed him. But Paul did not complain, because Paul had the time to go around. He had the focus, and he had a word I'm looking for, starting with D. If you don't have it, then your single ministry will be of null effect. Begins with D. Determination, dedication, discipline. But the word on the drive, the desire. The desire to do it. And this is the thing, Debbie, that is not so much today. The desire for ministry. Can you imagine? Paul said he received 40 stripes from who? The Jews, save one. Now, tell me something. Here is this man, went into a district and they beat him and threw him out. And after Paul got better, he went back inside there. And they beat him again. Would you go back? All right. And Paul went until one time the people said, no man, something is wrong with this man. Let us, in my own word, listen to what he said. And Paul raised up a church there, because Paul had the desire, a strong desire, to see the work of the Lord go forward. And don't see singleness as a sin, but as I said, it's something that people should pray about. God, you want me to be single for how long? For the rest of my life? Or for a time? And so this is something that you have to keep communicating with the Lord. Now, I am sure that Paul had opportunities to get married, but he made a choice by himself. So in other words, he got married to ministry. He see himself that way, and nothing is wrong with him. Let us look at another man, John the Baptist. He was single, but he did a mighty work for Christ. Some people follow this foolish notion that he was born. No, he was not born that way. He chose not to marry. He chose not to marry. Remember, Enoch was a married man. Ezekiel was a married man. So I'm just listing a few of the prophets. Daniel also was a single man. He chose, and look at it. Daniel came to the prophetic table at what age? Does anyone know? At 17 years old. Now, can you imagine a teenager called to the prophetic council at age 17? Young man. And Daniel lived many years till he was a whole man in Babylon. But he carried out the work of the Lord, which is very, very important. Might ask the question, is there a place for single people in this world? Yes, there is a place. Before I go further, I mentioned that, is there any drawbacks or disadvantage with that singles can't do, can't reach? All right, and you can tell me if you agree with me. When you look out there, in terms of giving counsels, Paul was very strategic in how he counsels people, especially married people, because Paul, knowing that he does not have the experience, he's not living in the situation. So what Paul did, Paul write what? Letters, or what we call epistles, trying his best to counsel them. So in other words, Paul knew that it is difficult for a single man or a single woman to counsel married people who are going through marital problems, because you are not in the situation. You're not a married person. It is difficult. You don't know. If you're a female, you don't know what the wife is going through. And if you're a male, you don't know what the husband is going through. And so this is a drawback in single ministry. In other words, what one should do, I'm not going to say you should write letters as Paul did, but you know, you can find, in the church, married couples, and this is where it gets very, 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 very serious, because I can tell you, finding counselors is not difficult. The problem is finding people who are trustworthy, and that is the issue. People who people can trust. And that's I say, I'm not going to get into that aspect. I'm dealing with this whole single ministry. But singles, that's a drawback. And also sometimes when children come into play, when children are having difficult problems, especially if you're a single person who don't have a child or don't have children, in a situation like that, while they can quote from the scriptures, but when the wife or the husband tell that the child is wayward or doing this or doing that, you might try, but you see, when it is coming from somebody who have children at home, people will more listen to you, because you can refer back to, when my daughter was 15 or 13 or my son was 8 or 9, you have reference. The single person who don't have any children, they have no reference. They have nothing to draw back on, to pass on. And so that's a drawback in singles ministry. But, as I go along, if you want to make a point, if you want to ask questions, you feel free to do so. But singles ministry is beautiful. Yes, Sister Jackie. Yes. Yes. Amen. So can you imagine when the husband have a bad day at work and he go home and his wife, help cheer him up and lift his spirits? The single person, when him go home, go home in gone home to empty house, there's nothing there. There's no one there to lift him or her up, So I understand what Solomon is saying. Ellen White said in the book Adventist Home that a house without children is one of the most. Our home without children is a boring home. A boring home. I don't know. I can't. Is that you, Anne Marie, right? Can you imagine your home without children? I mean, Giselle and Janelle, they bring joy and everything. Joy and, yeah, I understand. Okay. And so, you see, with singleness, there are times when you are lonely and you have to find ways and means how to deal with it. Because what sometimes affects you can affect your ministry. And also, singles, I believe, face great temptations. And that is why when you're on the mission field, as a single person, you have to be very, very careful. Very careful. Especially when you're making bonds or friendships, especially with a member of the opposite sex, you have to know exactly what you're doing, because sometimes the community is looking on and see what is happening. So it is best if you could ask somebody to accompany you if you're going to do a Bible study, or you're going to visit a friend, or if you're going to spend an extended time. Why? Why you'd ask a friend to come along with you? Right. You don't want to give people a wrong impression, because people, or people think, they look at the negative side first before they look at the positives. So you have to be very careful. Right. Very good point. And so, as I said, married couples, they have husband or wife or children to help cheer them up. As a single person, well, if you're single and you have, children, before, your children can bring, can help to make you happy to a point. But if you're single and you don't have children, you have to find ways and means to make yourself happy. List some of the ways that singles can make themselves happy. You form friendships. Okay. What else? Do you just take a trip by yourself? Should you go out by yourself? What else do you do? Because I'm sure all single persons here, you're happy, right? Singles, are you happy? So talk, what do you do to make yourself happy? Others can hear it.
I think that just being in my own company makes me very happy. So that alone for me is satisfying. Just having that freedom, that alone time, extensively.
Okay. Yes.
I've never lived by myself. Never.
Okay.
In all my years, right? And so I don't know what it is like.
To live alone.
To live alone. And I remember once when John and Jason were small, they went to my family in the country for like a week holiday, and it was nice. It was very nice for the first day or two, but after a while, it just changed. The house was boring, as you said, and luckily they decided to cut the week short and they wanted to come home, so I gladly went for them. So I don't know what it is like. Maybe something that you get used to after a while. I'm not sure. I have not had that opportunity, and I don't really want that opportunity. Not for my children, because I have my husband, but I would want the opportunity where I am living alone. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I can tell you that sometimes people want to be by themselves, especially those who refer to themselves as introvert. I don't know where those fancy words come from, introvert and extrovert. But as I said, people should show themselves friendly. You can have a friend who you can call and talk to. And as I said, you have to make time for recreation. I believe that singles have more time for recreation than people who are married and in a committed relationship, because, as I said, you have a husband, wife, children to take care of, and you have, and all that comes with it. So, your focus is in a different direction. So, as a single person, you have to find ways and means to make yourself happy and, happy and fun. Have a lot of fun. Okay. Yes. Question. If you are single, if somebody is single for an extended period of time and decided to, can somebody who is single for a long period of time, is the transition to make somebody in your inner space? And this is very important, Is that easy? Or should a single person prepare his or her mind to say, okay, while I'm living the single life, I should ensure that I prepare that part of me in the case my situation should change sometime down the road. You understand the question? Anybody want to respond? Because you're single for 10, 15 or 20 years. Yes. If you're a single person, you're there 10, 15, 20 years. You are accustomed to singleness. Should during that period of time you prepare yourself that in the case I should, things should change.
Yeah.
Should one prepare his or herself just in case a situation should change in the future?
I believe you should, because as the saying goes, all habits die hard.
Right.
And you have your habit of doing things.
Your way.
And yes, and it can be irritating for the other person. So you have to make some adjustment in order for you and that person to live at peace with each other.
Okay. Anybody else?
You have to tell yourself that you want to make the changes, but living alone, and then you have somebody in your space, and it can be difficult, but as long as you and the person talk and willing to work with the person in your space, it can work. But you have to just change some of your habits. Because all of we, if you even have people in your space, all the days of your life, and you'll get somebody, but will you alone and get somebody in your space? As long as you're willing to work, it can work.
Okay.
And you can make, but you know, you have to make adjustment. Just like if you are going to go in a relationship, you have a plan to make adjustment to it work. Like
Okay.
everything in life, you have to make adjustment. Christianity, everything.
Right? All right. We must remember now that being single at 25 and being single at 50 are two different phases, you know. One don't have much experience and living single, while one at 50 has spent many, many years living single. And so the transition would be harder, I believe, would be harder at 50 than at 25. Because there are certain and unless that individual was preparing the mind and say, okay, in the case that my situation should change, then, you know, I've already prepared my mind for it. I'm looking, if it doesn't come, it doesn't come, but if it comes, my mind has been prepared already. Yes, Sister Tingling. Yes. Yes.